Hello and welcome back to our discussion about promoting interdisciplinary care at the intersection of faith and neuroscience. I'm Dr. Leonard Matheson. This is another video in the series that focuses on the clinical interpretation section of the CPA Report. We're taking a look at how we use the quality of life rating. This is the third in a series of 3 videos because we have 3 different strategies. Depending on the client's quality of life score, some require coaching, some require counseling, some require psychotherapy. We need to offer all 3. When a client comes to us with a quality of life score below 3.0, treat it as a cry for help. Their anxiety, depression, and sleep disturbance scores are usually above the 85th percentile. People in this range usually report that life is miserable and they need to make it better or else. Screen carefully for suicidality. Review their elevated items on the anxiety, depression, and sleep disturbance scales. Explore responses that indicate concern. Use a formal diagnostic interview and additional testing. Quickly get your hands around the issues. Speed is of the essence because this person is really hurting. Address elevated items specifically and plan on tracking them session to session. Be as proactive and as probing as the client will allow you to be. Constructively counter self-destructive thinking. Begin to instruct on the interplay of language and feelings. Introduce the idea of an autobiographical narrative and how the client can participate in writing the next chapter of their life. Assigning homework and following up on homework will provide important structure between sessions. Depending on the severity of the symptoms, it may be necessary to have the client come back in a few days, rather than postpone the next session until the next week. Always be aware that this is the person whose joys and dreams and hopes have disappeared, and they've been replaced with dark questions. Why? It's really crucial to develop a client-centered treatment program to improve clarity and dispel the darkness. Initially, focus on resolving their symptoms. It will probably be necessary to refer the client to a physician. Prepare the client for this and encourage the client to look at medicine as a temporary necessity. Make it clear that the client can develop new strategies for living to obviate the need for medicine. Clients at this level will benefit from a quality of life audit. This is the basic framework. We use this to identify the issues that have caused their quality of life to be so poor. We assume that there are triggers, and we want to temporarily center the cause outside our client. As our client develops emotional resilience over the next several weeks, we increasingly offer constructive criticism. We need to help the client to take as much responsibility for poor quality of life as is appropriate. We will address the quality of life audit in more detail in another lesson. Basically, the audit will give you guidance about what to do next. It will also provide a foundation as the client begins to make progress to be sure that he or she is handling these issues adequately. The key is to look for self-organizing patterns. God has designed self-organizing patterns into all of nature, from the rose spiral to the spiral of the aloe plant, to the spiral of a hurricane off Iceland, to the thousands of spiral nebulae in the universe, and then down to the patterns of neurons in our brain that are organized based on our values. The point I'd like to make is that God gives us an opportunity to participate in developing the patterns of our neurons. These patterns are organized by our values and result in our goals. As we mature from infants all through adulthood and just before we die, our values continue to organize the patterns of neurons, and the patterns of neurons continue to organize our goals. These patterns are observable as we consider the arc of our life, and they are important to uncover quickly when people are doing poorly. We can help with values-based goaling to develop a future perspective and immediately begin to organize neurons around those values and goals. The plan that you develop will focus on the client's values-based goals. Session by session review of the goals and between session goal-focused homework is absolutely necessary. Emotional resilience will improve. Momentum will build. We can help with the Happy Hippocampus exercise focus on optimism to help the person develop a positive expectation for the future. Why is this woman sleeping? Because this is when the Happy Hippocampus exercise unfolds. This is when self-guided neuroconsolidation occurs. Research from the Faithful Brain Institute and hundreds of laboratories around the world shows that optimism greatly contributes to quality of life. So much so that I've been wondering whether we should actually call the Happy Hippocampus exercise the optimistic hippocampus exercise. Once again, remember our free trial offer to encourage you to try the CPA yourself. Thanks for listening.